Howdy and welcome back for another torn help video. In a previous video, this one right here, we talked about flying and we walked you through all the basics of flying and even talked about a tool called Torn PDA that you can use to predict availability of items, namely plushies, overseas. But sometimes the predictor tools just don't work and plushies and flowers are not there as predicted. So in this video, I'm going to explain some bonus items available that will still allow you to make a little bit of money when you can't find plushies overseas. Now, the information I'm providing you today is based upon the wiki at the time of recording, and we're in the travel section of the wiki, more specifically down here where it shows all the destinations, and then going to the individual destinations here to determine what items are typically available and what the buy price is. Now, this selling price isn't necessarily accurate on the wiki. At the end of the day, the selling price is whatever someone is willing to pay. And I'm going to make reference to some selling prices in this video, which are valid at the day of recording, but may not necessarily be accurate when you're flying in the future after watching this video. Okay, so the final thing I need to mention before we get any further into this video is that there are some drug items in various locations overseas. And I'm going to use the cannabis in Canada as an example. You can see here on the wiki that the price of cannabis in Canada changes daily according to this. When it comes to drugs, generally speaking, drugs are going to be a losing proposition as it relates to buying at a price and selling for more money. The exception is South Africa, where you can consistently buy Xanax for cheap and sell for additional money. And I just want to point out here that I'm not going to mention any of these drugs going forward, even though on any given day, they're potentially a good buy. But if you're going to buy drugs overseas, make sure you know what you can sell them for when you get back to Torn City. All right, so I've made a spreadsheet and we're going to start in Mexico, where you can buy the Jaguar plushie and the Dahlia flower. This Dahlia, by the way, is generally not a very good buy in terms of making money when you get back to Torn City. But the bonus item in Mexico is going to be the card skimmer, which has been doing well lately. It has a buy price of $175, and here recently it's been selling for about $2,300. So this would be a good third choice when you get to Mexico. In the case of Cayman, you can buy the Stingray plushie or the banana orchid flower. Your alternate item is going to be the trout. This generally does pretty well in the item market because it's needed for various merits. This item you can buy for $10,000, and at the time of recording, you can sell it for about $14,000. Now, one thing that I need to mention at this point is that consumables or items that are regularly used are going to be in constant demand. And what I mean by that is if everybody's buying trout in Cayman and trying to sell it in the item market, it's likely that the supply is going to exceed the demand and this price will fall over time. So just be mindful of that as you buy items like this one here. In the case of the card skimmer, at the time of recording, we got lots and lots of new players who are eventually going to be doing this particular crime that requires this item. So I think for the foreseeable future, this is probably going to be a good investment in terms of buying low and selling high. In Canada, we have the Wolverine plushie and the crocus flower. And the other items that you could buy overseas would be the PVC cards and the aluminum plate. These are both used for the forgery crime. And at the time of recording, this aluminum plate is doing quite well. You can buy this for $11.25 and sell it for $7,700. Moving on to Hawaii, there is no plushie available in Hawaii, and you can buy the orchid flower there. The other item you could buy is the large suitcase. This is most likely where you're going to get the cheapest buy on a suitcase if you need that for traveling. One caution with this item here is this is definitively something where there's a relatively low demand, and I don't know that you can consistently get $700,000 for selling this item. What you might do instead is buy one of these, and then with the remaining capacity you have, buy these flowers. And once this large suitcase is sold, you could buy another one on your next trip. The final note here is that traveling with $10 million could potentially be very risky in terms of mugging. So make sure you set timers on your phone and you quickly get in and out of Hawaii if you're buying suitcases. Next up is Argentina. This is where we buy the monkey plushie and the SIBO flower. And tear gas is a very good item. In fact, at the time of recording, this is doing slightly better than the plushie due to the fact that you can buy it for $15,000 and sell it for roughly $48,000. So this would definitely be a good item to keep an eye out for if you can't find the plushie or the flower. In United Kingdom, we have two plushies, the Nessie plushie and the Red Fox plushie, and then we have the Heather flower. And at the time of recording, the Inkwell and dog treats were both doing quite well. Dog treats being bought for $25 and being sold for roughly $118,000, and the Inkwell being bought for $375 and selling for about $16,000. With Switzerland, you're really only going there for rehab at the end of the day. You can do okay with a chamois plushie or the Edelweiss flower. Flash grenade would be even better than the flower. This is something you could keep an eye out for. You can buy this for $12,000 and make roughly $5,200 on it when you get back to Torn City. In Japan, there's no plushie available, but you can buy a flower called the Cherry Blossom. This is going to get you roughly $49,000 in profit at the time of recording. And the glow stick is currently doing pretty decent. You can buy this for $10,000 and sell it for $30,000. So this would be a good alternate item when you get to Japan. Moving on to China, we have the Panda plushie and the Peony flower, both doing quite well in the profit side. But at the time of recording, I didn't really see an item that's a good third or alternate purchase item here in China. In the UAE, we have the Camel plushie and we have the Tribulus obones. These both do quite well when you get back to Torn City. But at the time of recording, I don't really see a good alternate item to purchase in this location. Moving on to South Africa, we got the Lion plushie and the African Violet flower. And as I said early on, the Xanax consistently does well in terms of making profit. I didn't bother putting any numbers here because this consistently changes quite often, but I can assure you, you're going to make profit if you're buying Xanax in South Africa. The other item to look at would be the smoke grenade, which is bought for $20,000 and sold for roughly $82,000. Before we end the video, I want to make a few key points. One is this: although you can do good from a profit standpoint in destinations like South Africa, you as a newer player are highly likely to be losing natural energy regeneration and natural nerve regeneration by going to these far destinations. So for this reason, I would encourage you to think about traveling to these far locations, unless, as an example, you just need to kind of stay busy while you're at school, while you're at work. You don't have time to do these shorter flights to places like Mexico. The other point that I want to reiterate is that these sell prices were valid at the time of recording, but at the time you go to these destinations, they're not necessarily going to be the same amount. So it's a good thing to keep an eye on the sale prices of these items before you travel to these various destinations. And this is one of the reasons that I like Torn PDA. It has a built-in mechanic that kind of shows you how your profit's going to be when you get to these various countries. All right, before we sign off today, I want to remind folks that I randomly give away items, including things like Xanax, to players that are leaving comments and likes on the videos. But in order to have any chance of getting free stuff, you need to make sure you include your username in your comments when you leave those on the videos. Thanks again, everybody, for watching. We'll see you next time.